Here are 3 reasons why I'm still buying RSR. Reason number 1 is because I like its room for growth. Even though nothing I say is financial advice, the price of RSR as of right now is having a pullback. And as a result of that, reaching the price of 35 cents, which is my price target, by the way, for it during this bull run, that right there is now around a 37x from here. Now, some people may argue that, okay, yeah, a 37x isn't going to be the best, but in my opinion, really, anything over 10x seems very impressive. And I'm just going to put some perspective into this because if, let's say, I were to put $1,000 into RSR as of right now, and let's say RSR again were to go to the price of 35 cents, around a 37x from here, at that point, that $1,000 would hypothetically become around 37. Now, this isn't a guarantee. I'm not telling anyone to buy RSR, but this is just my perspective. And again, I totally understand that RSR isn't going to be the best performing thing out there, but I'm fine with that because for me, getting into a microcap seems very risky. Now, there's always going to be risk with anything. I totally understand that, but that just feels a little bit too much in my opinion. Like, of course, let's say there's a microcap that has like a $10,000 market cap. Sure, it could do very amazing, but again, the risk is very high in my opinion. However, on the flip side, if I got into a dinosaur, much like, BNB or like Ethereum or something like that, I'm not saying they're bad, but I'm just saying in terms of hypothetical upside, it just doesn't feel that dynamic anymore in my opinion. So what is a good balance in between for me? I think something like RSR, because I just think that, again, the market cap isn't too low, but then it's not too high either, right? So then I think it's a perfect balance in between. I think it's this project that is well established, has a good community, good exchange listings, but at the same time, it's not a dinosaur. So I really like this. I think this pretty much ticks all the boxes in which I'm looking for. Again, a relatively quote unquote proven project that hasn't really reached that next level or that mainstream level yet, but it has the hypothetical potential to, and that's what I'm looking at. However, even besides that, some people may think that 35 cents is ridiculous because they think, okay, it's too much. Well, I'm going to disagree with that because if, let's say, it were to go to that price, considering current circulating supply, market cap at that point would be around $19 billion. Let's say even for simplicity's sake, we round it up a little bit to 20 billion. Even at that, it's not even that insane. Take into consideration how back in 2021, Dogecoin reached over $80 billion in market cap. Shiba Inu that year reached around 40 billion. BNB that year reached over 100 billion. And keep in mind, actually in 2021, things could very well not seem as amazing as they could be this time around. And the reason why is because during the peak of the 2021 bull run, there was roughly around 300 million crypto owners. Not bad for the time. However, as of right now, there's over 600 million according to Crypto.com research. So you could only imagine that. Now, keep in mind as well, I don't think we've seen the peak of the bull run yet, in my opinion, because I still think the journey is still very far. As of right now, Bitcoin hasn't reached the price of $150,000 yet. Imagine as it does that, 200,000, 250,000. I think this bull run could be very amazing. And again, when you have over 600 million crypto owners, I just don't see why not. So if those projects I mentioned before were able to reach those great heights back then, years ago, right? Despite having, at that time, in my opinion, much less buying pressure and FOMO in general, again, if it could do that back then, imagine what something like RSR could do this time around. Man, I think it could be so special. And that's why, I think that RSR is such a no-brainer pick for me. Now, some people also may argue that, oh yeah, the fundamentals are bad. Well, again, I'm going to have to disagree with that because this actually brings me to my second reason as to why I'm still buying RSR, and it's because I like its fundamentals. After all, in order to understand just how special RSR is, we have to take a look at Reserve, because Reserve as a project, I think, is very wonderful. Now, their goal is quite essentially being focused on stable currency. Now, you may be thinking, okay, that's kind of weird. What do they mean by that? Well, here's the thing. Let me explain. Because what they allow people to do is to create something called an R token. Now, an R token is basically, again, a token that is backed one-to-one by a collection of other tokens. And the amazing thing about it is that an R token can literally, again, be created by anyone. And, it can be done without even writing a single line of code. That's how amazing it is. And now some people may be thinking, okay, what is the benefit of, let's say, having this R token be backed by a collection of other tokens? And the answer, I think, is pretty simple. It's to have more stability, because even if you take a look at a very popular R token called, EUSD. Now, EUSD is backed by a collection of, for instance, we'll see USDC, USDT. And I think, again, really, a benefit of that is having more stability. So reserved if thought about this, right? Now you may be thinking, okay, where does RSR even play a role in any of this? Now here's where things get a little bit more exciting, because if you take a look at an R token, there's quite a bunch of R tokens as of right now. And the amazing thing about it is that RSR holders, we can actually stake our RSR on a R token. Now, again, it doesn't have to be predetermined, by the way. We can choose which R token we want to stake our RSR on. However, even besides that, let's say we choose an R token, quite essentially, this staked RSR, it does quite essentially, in a sense, act as an insurance. What I like to call it is basically like collateral in a sense. However, as a result of that, what happens? These RSR holders, they do gain rewards, and they can even participate in governance for that R token that they do stake their RSR on. So RSR does have a benefit here. And again, if you take a look at an R token, I think it's only fair to assume that it's going to be a big narrative moving forward, because take into consideration how when it comes to, nowadays, people are looking for stuff like this. And I think a lot of the hype when it comes to RSR is trickling down when it comes to other projects that are focused on payments, much like, for instance, Ripple, Stellar, XDC, XCN. People love those type of projects, and I get it. It's a little bit different than this one. However, just because there's so much attention as of right now in the global trade and finance market, the payments market, a lot of it is flowing into something like RSR, in my opinion. And I think R tokens are just going to continue to grow from here on out. I think it's just the beginning. I think that moving forward, of course, people do want a stable currency, because we do know some cases of, inflation being through the roof in some instances. And of course, this could hypothetically maybe play a role in certain markets. This is just all speculative though, but this is just the way I take a look at it. And not to mention, the payments market as of right now is currently valued at over $2 trillion. And again, when you have a market that massive, I think that something like R tokens could maybe play a role in something like that, right? I'm not saying it's going to dominate or anything like that, but moving forward, it could be fantastic. Now, some people may argue that, okay, the adoption for R tokens isn't the best as of right now, and as a result, RSR really isn't going to prosper. Well, in my opinion, it doesn't really matter if current adoption isn't the best, because, for instance, we take a look at many projects out there. Like, let's say Avalanche or Solana. Does it have the best adoption of all time? No, but then people care about what could something be in the future. They care about future potential perceived adoption as opposed to current adoption. That's just the space we're in as of right now. People just currently don't really care about that type of stuff. Maybe they might care in the next 5-10 years, who knows? But again, as of right now, they more so care about what something could be in the future. And I think something like R tokens is very revolutionary in its own right. And I think that it has good perceived future potential adoption. And I think as a result, RSR hypothetically is going to gain a lot of attention during this sport, and especially as it progresses into the 3rd, 4th, and 5th gear. Man, I think it could be something special. And of course, I'm not necessarily saying that RSR is going to have this straight shot up, but you know what? If there is multiple pullbacks, it's totally fine, because I'll still be accumulating, and I think that RSR has amazing fundamentals. Now, the third and final reason why I'm still buying RSR is because, as the old saying goes, a high tide raises all ships. Much like I mentioned earlier in the video, when there's over 600 million crypto owners, according to Crypto.com research, I think this sport is going to be absolutely spectacular, hypothetically speaking. Also, I think that way because you take a look at the Bitcoin ETF, the Ethereum ETF, the number of institutional investors, the amount of enterprise adoption, and again, the rise of the payments market. I just don't see why this bull run would be bad. I think if anything, it's going to be fantastic. I think that as bull run again reaches that next level of 150,000, 200,000, and maybe even beyond, I think this bull run could be so special. But it's just a waiting game, which is why I'm still staying patient, accumulating, holding, and just waiting when it comes to RSR. And again, that's pretty much it. I think that RSR is a no-brainer for me. I think it's a very simple and easy to understand project. It's not overly complicated, and 35 cents during this bull run wouldn't surprise me whatsoever, especially considering all of those factors I mentioned throughout the video. And those are the 3 reasons why I'm still buying RSR. And make sure to subscribe if you gain value from this video. I'd greatly appreciate it. It's been Lee the Captain, and I'll catch y'all on the next one. I'm a peace. Bye.